I love ChatGPT. I use it all the time. Hey ChatGPT, what day is it? And I'm not alone either. Millions of people use AI on a daily basis, and some argue that it's one of the most transformative technologies of our time. But what we don't see is that every response has a physical cost. AI needs GPUs, memory chips, and huge data centers to keep it all going. And as demand for AI keeps increasing, companies are racing to get all the hardware they need. With high demand and low supply, we have a hardware crisis. Let's quickly discuss what hardware AI actually uses. GPUs or other AI chips known as accelerators are the essential components. They carry out all the calculations and are used in large amounts. Memory chips store and move the data that GPUs need. Servers hold the GPUs, and data centers are buildings full of these servers. And of course, we need electricity and cooling to keep this all going. Now let's talk about the shortage. A common misconception is that the shortage is only in AI chips, but it goes much deeper than that through the entire supply chain. The key idea is that as demand for AI suddenly spiked, it was hard for companies to match that, especially when AI hardware takes years and billions of dollars to make. Initially, GPUs were the bottleneck, or the scarcest resource relative to demand, as it heavily restricted production. As foundries improved GPU production, HBM, or high bandwidth memory, became the limiting factor. Normal memory chips can't process the huge amounts of data that AIs need to in a short time, making HBM essential. However, HBM is significantly harder and more complex to make than AI chips. On top of this, manufacturers are hesitant about drastically increasing production, as it would take billions of dollars and several years. So if the AI demand were to decrease, the companies would be left with a surplus. Another issue is that similar to processing chips, only a few companies can create HBM. Packaging is another bottleneck because GPU dies and HBM chips must be assembled into a package, which takes skill and time. Nowadays, the data centers have also become problematic. They are constrained by power grid limitations, equipment shortages, and public opposition. We also have to consider that bottlenecks are always shifting. First, it was GPUs, then HBM, and in 2026, it's shifting over to power infrastructure. Now let's shift over to talking about some impacts of this crisis. The first impact's pretty obvious, that running and training AI models will become more expensive. This means that bigger companies like Google and Microsoft may be able to develop their AIs more easily, and this also means that smaller companies like startups might struggle to compete. Another impact is on consumer electronics like phones, laptops, and gaming. Because RAM manufacturers are now prioritizing HBM, these devices have become much more expensive. We can see this with Microsoft, which has increased some computer prices by $500. This also impacts businesses like GameStop. GameStop was already struggling before the crisis because of changing consumer habits, but faced with a shortage, business has continued to worsen, and they have shut down hundreds of stores this year. Another problem is the increasing demand for electricity. Like I've said before, data centers require large amounts of electricity for power and cooling, often using as much as a medium-sized city. This can create local infrastructure problems and make electric bills more expensive. Moreover, AI hardware is becoming a source of national power, like oil. Since AI chips can be used for military purposes, the US has restricted exports of advanced technology to China. Another concern is that much of the advanced hardware used in AI is made by TSMC in Taiwan. This creates geopolitical risk, and politicians have argued that increasing domestic chip production is essential to national security. Despite this, there are some upsides. The hardware crisis could force AI to become more efficient. Companies might build smaller models and better chips and data centers. Hey ChatGPT, what time is it? Behind every response from an AI chatbot, there's an entire physical system doing all the work. And because this physical system is scarce, the future of AI might depend more on who can get access to these resources rather than who has the best ideas. So I want to leave off today with a few thoughts. If AI infrastructure costs billions of dollars, can AI ever truly be open? Will monopolies increase and competition decrease? And will the future of AI be shaped by who has the best ideas or who can afford it? These questions will continue shaping the next decade of AI, and how we answer them can make a huge difference.